We'll have an extra area. Oh, yeah. They don't have enough space for all the photos for this book. So yeah.
Isn't that like a pretty,
You guys are TA.
There's a maze. There's a maze.
No, but there's a, okay, so this is the whole entries? Yeah. Yeah. This is everything. The Hobbit, we get over that.
And where's the Hobbits?
Are they pranking us? That's the thing. Is it real? Or are they taking photos from like this? Like this?
That's the crazy thing about
Like, if you-
at some point you have to sit there and go, okay, trying to tell me this is also inside the universe. Or you pull this away from something.
Yeah.
There's no.
didn't it, and like,
Photo, there we go.
it's,
No.
and it is actually. You just tried selling for fancy crown.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, you could buy it.
We were thinking about like,
Yeah.
They didn't steal some of them.
okay, so I understand.
Just like that.
A message and all real.
Is it good with some-
9.5, 31,000 square feet.
Dude,
On
it's
a
like-
10-acre lot.
It's like crazy to think about how great that is because I think
Right,
it doesn't even.
welcome everybody.
Oh, no, no.
Not gonna have it, other than this teaching day, it'll probably be a couple, anyway, we won't have another teaching day next week because we've got a couple of labs to do. So, would somebody offer a prayer that will count for both weeks? So, I know, maybe that's a lot of pressure, a lot of weight. I could offer it if you want. I just talk a lot. All right, I'll go ahead and pray then. Our Father in heaven, we're grateful to be here at BYU. We're grateful for the fine athletic year that we're having and will be having. We're grateful for the great spirit of all the people who are in this class. Father, please bless each of them as they carry the loads and the burdens that come along with life and also getting through a university education. Please bless and support them and all of their challenges and help them to do well in everything that they need to do. Help them to learn a lot today. And we say things in the name of Jesus Christ, amen. All right, well, it's already Wednesday, so half your week is already over. How's life going? Anything in particular on your mind? Had this been Monday, you'd still be reveling in the joy of the weekend and the football game. I stayed at an Airbnb, and I guess I got a little loud because the people upstairs were banging on the floor. I just got a little excited. My son was there, and we're all getting super excited when we get a touchdown, and we're just like hugging and high-fiving and yelling, and I don't know, maybe it was Ute fans upstairs. I don't know. It was great. It was a good weekend for us. Anything in particular going on in your lives? Anything I should know about? Life is good. Jenkins treating you well. You have a test? Okay, that's the kind of information I want to know. When's the test happening? Saturday? Okay, open and it closes on Saturday. All right, well, good luck on that. So, but I don't have a test at the same time. Yeah, we'll show the pictures again in a minute. All right, we don't we don't have an exam this week, so I'm gonna be I haven't like adjusted the exam, but we'll have an exam in the future, like a couple of weeks from now. So don't worry about that. But there was the lab from Monday, and ideally you turn that in this Saturday. You also have a reading quiz to do, and then the guest speaker panel from last week. So there's recordings of me doing the lab as well as the guest speaker panel from last week if you need any of that stuff. I guess you can see I copy and pasted that in there pretty quick because I didn't make it look cute or anything. Okay, so today really we're doing more of VPC review and just a tiny bit of security. So we'll do a little exercise today. And then so just make sure you do your 3 easy things. As I look towards next week, I feel like your workload starts to get a little bit heavier next week. So just be prepared for that. So in particular, you're gonna have a security lab that I can't remember how many pages it is. It's like 78 pages long or something like that. So it's a little long. It's not like it's hard, it's just a little longer. So that lab is, you'll have to, anyway, you don't need me for that. I'll probably make a recording of me doing it, but the lab is right there. There's also a homework assignment that goes along with it. That's just very similar. So it shows that you can apply all of your learning as it relates to VPCs and security, those two topics together. So the two labs will come together in a short homework assignment. Well, it's short in terms of the description, but it involves the skills from the two labs. You got a reading quiz next week. Okay, so I have to talk to you now just about these things because there's two labs next week. So then there's no time for me to, I mean, I might send you an email or something, but we won't have lecture days. So try to get it all out of the way right now. So next Monday, lab. Next Wednesday, lab. And you just follow along with the readings or watch my videos when I make them, and then you'll get through them. So you'll have a fair amount of work for your homework and your labs. And I don't know if we should think about anything after that for now. Oh, well, so yeah, I know that's why it got complicated. Okay, and then the next Monday, I'm giving you off class. So you just have a group day to work on your group project, which I have targeted for turning in on this day. So really the way that I see that group project is, to a great extent, it's an extension of this lab. So once you've done this lab, you should be able to get through the group project pretty easily and turn it in on this day. So I'll send you a reminder. In terms of managing your lives, I would say just worry about this week. You've got your other exam in the other class, and just make sure you get these three things done this week, and worry about next week. Yeah.
You, chapter 7.
I can just send me a message and I will fix it. So yeah, sorry if it's not done already. No, but
All good.
happy to do it. Yeah, send me a message. I feel like I've like overpromised and underdelivered. You said I could retake them. I'm like, yeah, but there's like 50 boxes on each of those quizzes. It's like so I might miss clicking some of them and to make it work like that. So it's not malicious. It's just there's a lot of boxes. But I'm happy to do it if you send me a message, and I'll do that tomorrow sometime. All right. Any other questions? Okay. All right, some of the highlights there. Bear Bachmeyer, jumping over people, interception, good vibes, feeling good. Okay. All right, let's do effectively a group activity today. So imagine this, that Paradise Donut Company is at this particular moment for the exercise today, they're a $4 billion company with lots of VPCs all over the world to support its retail stores. So again, it's patterned after Starbucks. So imagine that they have, you know, people buying from local donut shops online, placing online orders, probably leveraging the regions all over the world and the VPCs and stuff like that in each of the regions. Okay, so they're a thing, but then they come up with this idea. They're like, we should sell ice cream cakes that leverage our brand. So ice cream donut cakes, which sounds better than it probably would be, because I mean, when you fry donut bread and then you freeze it, it's like not the same. I don't know, just pretend it looks like a donut, but maybe that's just cake. By the way, well, I just watched like all 3 or 4 episodes of Is It Cake Halloween edition. Anyway, I'd be so silly. Anyway. Okay, so here's the deal. The distribution channels for our growing company are going to be different, because you know how a donut shop works. If you're just buying a donut, you go down to the local store and you get a box and then off you go. But frozen donuts, these ones, the frozen ice cream donuts, these ones are not meant to be sold so much in the donut stores, but they're supposed to be sold in the frozen food things of grocery stores, little ice cream trucks, convenience stores and who knows, maybe even people doing DoorDash and stuff that are delivering from the grocery store or from a convenience store. So the idea is that it's not going to be individual consumers that are going to be buying off of our website to buy them. It's going the real purchasers of this, from our perspective as a corporation, are the grocery store chains and the convenience store chains. So they're going to be buying from us. Oops. Okay, so this is a new line of business, and just to make it feasible, you know, if you're a big grocery store and stuff, you probably don't want to be going onto somebody's website and ordering stuff that way, right? You probably want to place orders through APIs. So on our back end, from our Walmarts and places like that, we'll get our orders taking place via APIs and not like a traditional storefront. Okay, so just what I already said, current business, customers buy off of the websites that are tied to the local stores. The new business is going to be basically business to business buying. Businesses are buying from our corporate API-based website. Okay, so a question is then, should we use the same VPCs that we're using for our retail stores as, you know, for our new line of business? So basically, we would have VPCs in regions all over the world that are closest to our customers, so that an end consumer can just pay on a website. And the VPC for that would have whatever servers we need to support that transaction. So if we're going to have basically an entirely different business, should we go into the exact same VPC where we have who knows how many different servers to support our front end transactions from, you know, think of like Krispy Kreme, you know. So would you, if you have a VPC that has all your Krispy Kreme customer facing websites, would you, if you have a new line of business that's not going to involve regular customers, would you put in an entirely different application in that VPC? What do you think? Are you sure? Are you just going because there's a big red? Maybe. Well, why? I don't know. Any reasons why? Anybody? Yeah.
The store buying your product, is it website as much as customer, so you don't need to.
Okay, it's not so much about, hey, my VPC is going to get overloaded with traffic. I saw you with the hand before.
Was about the same, like, the customers are going to be using. So. The customers, so you.
Okay, you can buy all of the bandwidth that you need for your VPC. And let me just add this in. A VPC can have a hypothetical limit of 65,536 IP addresses in it. So that's how many instances you could have in a single VPC, give or take a little bit. So you could put plenty of compute power in there and buy all the bandwidth you want. The question is, like, let's just say you had, I don't know, 50 servers per VPC that supported local traffic. Do you want to put in a certain number of other servers in that VPC that don't have anything to do with serving retail shops?
There's also just a principle of like you need to separate the specimen.
Okay, well, there's the security perspective. We can lock down different aspects of our VPC, our subnets, or we can use security groups. Interesting answer.
Something about loading. This traffic is coming in this web page.
Yeah, not really going to be an issue. Any other thoughts of why we might separate this? Like, should we do a different VPC for our new line of business? So you don't have to do it this way, but so here's maybe why I asked the question. You sign up for an AWS account and you just start throwing stuff in there. And you start to look at the world by default that way. Like, oh, if I have a corporation, I have my one AWS account and I just put a whole bunch of stuff in there. And people tend to subdivide things for a variety of reasons. So for example, if you're a big organization, you might have thousands of AWS accounts. And you're like, wait, I don't have just one? Like, yeah, you might have a lot. And so you might have, for example, this is getting off track a little bit, but if you have developers, you might have different developer accounts and each get their own private account. And then if they leave the company because they take a job somewhere else, you can just like disable their account and turn it off. So anyway, so there's what I'm thinking about with this is more about organization, not limitations of bandwidth or security, but if you have like an entire, let's just say that this is already a $4 billion a year business. Let's just say that we hope that this is going to be, I don't know, another $500 million a year or something. I don't know, something big. You know, do I really want, there's probably a lot of complexity that goes into websites and infrastructure for a $4 billion a year company. And so if I'm effectively doing like a whole different kind of company, then if you just look into the VPC and you look into all the servers and stuff that are in there, then you really have to be careful as you're looking at each thing in there, like, okay, what does what? And if you've got basically two completely businesses in there, it just kind of makes it really complicated. I don't know. I'm thinking like minestrone soup or something. There's like all kinds of stuff floating around in there. What does what? It'd be a lot easier if you say, hey, here's a whole line of business, effectively a company, and everything that's in there has to do with just this business to business API that we're hosting. Anyway, so I'm just thinking organizationally, it'll be easier to manage if you do it that way. Okay, so we're actually putting on our business hats to some degree today. Okay, and when you launch something, just the pragmatics of things, you could try to launch everywhere on planet Earth at the same time, or you could just launch in one region, work out all the bugs, and then expand on that. I happen to know, because I lived in Oklahoma for a while, that there's a dairy there. Has anybody been to Brahms? All right, some people have been living. All right, so you get like softball, like you go to Brahms anywhere in like Oklahoma or Texas, you get like a ice cream, like a waffle cone with a softball sized ball of ice cream on there for like $2 or something. It's just crazy cheap. They're practically giving it away. And then you get a double scoop and you're looking at diabetes. It's fantastic. It's so cheap. Okay, so there's a dairy out there that the Brahms restaurant chain and grocery store chain, they have their own dairy there. So let's say that we're not going to open up our own dairy to produce ice cream if we're a donut shop. So we're going to partner with the dairy that's already there, owned by Brahms, and they're going to help give us the milk and the supplies that we need for putting ice cream into our donut cakes. So what we're thinking is for our product launch in year one, we're going to try and sell it in this region in these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 states. So then we're relatively close to that dairy where we're doing a lot of our production. Okay, so I would like you to today, over a series of questions in groups, to help design the infrastructure for phase one. So, all right, so organize into groups and answer these 5 questions. Based on this is our product launch area. Which AWS region should our servers be in? How many availability zones are in the region that we choose? How much traffic do we think that we're going to get on our newly launching business to business API? How many web servers should we initially have in that region to support the traffic? So whatever region we choose, how many EC2 instances should we have? And what size web servers should we choose to support our application? So try and answer all of those 5 questions. I'll give you at least 5 to 10 minutes to discuss it. So have at it. So just huddle up with people around you and do some planning.
All right.
I was gonna say Ohio too, but I don't know what all the reasons are, so.
I'll ask you, did you pick Ohio?
Down with everything.
How many availability zones?
Yeah.
Or I can't remember. There's 3, 'cause that's what we use in the lab.
Yeah.
How much traffic will we get? 6 bajillion people every second.
You're saying,
You know, it's two are.
Ohio's good.
The first two are just. Availability. Then the last three.
How many web servers? Well, I don't know, cause I don't know how much traffic.
I'm not sure.
I hate to say it.
Okay.
Them down right there, but. yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, I don't know how you answer the last question.
14.
what size should we use?
Closest.
Yep. As not small, but it's not big.
Like.
The answer should be, the question should be answered.
Product. It's gotta be.
Or like,
Number up.
we forget. Like,
Let's do that. Nice.
We get more than
How?
no meeting.
Like, I can see that.
Maybe after.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah, we started. Yes, a lot of people aren't growing.
My answer.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Matter how much money.
I mean, I made something this a long time ago. I don't like them. Okay. Some rain.
Yeah.
Here's like,
The end is probably gonna be the same, and I redo that.
What?
I mean, in the US. But, no, I like have no idea how we're gonna estimate, so, but I feel good about our answers. Yeah, I have no idea how to.
It's like the resources online, but we also don't
Know our, numbers. I think.
That when we're doing tickets.
10% market.
Will be traffic.
ideally.
I think people, my mom will. Like, no one, wait, we said we're selling this to like grocery stores?
Yeah.
Anyone wants it? Yeah, let's get the mark. Hang on. Please.
Right?
I go Costco.
Yeah. Line already.
Ask them to.
It's bored.
But just.
Yeah, how much
Yeah,
traffic?
there could be.
There's the Webster. I can't remember where. I guess all of those last two questions depend on that third.
It's going, actually, so.
Bad. Bad.
Probably what?
So one for Monday.
Half of.
If my AWS was like, oh no, the chapter, yeah, AWS was down and stuff, like, yeah. No, it's like silly that like actually, they broke big fine. Campus isn't, yeah. Aw, shucks, campus, our homework.
We all have together. Like, we know that this is.
I-
like, you would still do
My name is not.
Donuts holy.
I apologize.
There we go.
And I guess I find that I feel
Depend, like, how well or how poorly we did it, but assuming we did it.
scientific.
Not so you just throw like a couple and each. Barely sound about 5 auto skillers. I mean, you install.
Like what
So is the. We have some connections. That we position strongly. They probably have a. We need more info about. What about this? Do you like? Walmart. Stop at Sam's. The thing is, yeah.
The only thing I got is Ohio. Traffic coming.
Figure out how many. I feel like you're gonna like. Traffic.
So Ohio was.
So.
Yeah. And obviously, no.
Look it up.
So far. 1 million donuts.
Might not. I'm just gonna guess on the.
Japanese.
And no, Ohio is not a word for another language, but the Japanese greeting
Oh, yeah, it's ice cream.
sounds very similar.
Wait, one. That's the one.
Totally. Station is very funny. Exactly the same, of course. Great. Yeah, I feel like if it's.
No, I don't think that has more dad points. Just, I don't think it's helping at all.
You got a station or?
Or is that where we?
I say.
Yeah.
I say.
Well, yeah, that's house API.
Wow.
Yeah, so think about, I just don't know.
Brownies. Delicious. Or at least the brownie. Feeling ice cream.
Light traffic.
Watch Dancing with the Stars. And I walked up and they were screaming about who stayed and who he could. I'm hoping he's good. Yeah. Don't watch it really. Was up in arms. I was so. Yeah, I was just talking to
That's our.
Nice. Who cares about? My friend made like 3
So-
weird. It was decorated.
We're not gonna put.
So extra. That's just when you said brownies, I thought of like. My what? Like watching it, so last night I was like so productive, and then I was like, no, I'm not, and then I was in.
Web servers for redundancy's sake.
Like the same.
Down, that'd be bad. A lot of sales.
We do
Yeah,
50% of.
Small.
Then we. Yeah, be safe.
It's so weird, you guys have so many.
We gotta.
There you go.
You're in Amazon and you say. How much processing?
I mean,
Zero much, right? So like, we're gonna have to make it something like that.
Record and data schedule.
Like during the day, now we're splitting up by hours.
Might not be bad.
Louisiana.
like all the other stuff.
They're worse than mine.
How are you coming to that?
But the ALC was.
I took a pie.
Yeah.
I even know. If it was
And this is assuming like, it was the number of grocery stores is low, so like, now they have free grocery store.
Yeah, it's so like, yeah. I did go
Every grocery store.
Waiting for a long time for.
It's like.
Availability Ohio. Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
Also like added like conversation.
What, like,
Like actually.
We like give
Average.
Like.
and, like.
Exactly.
Love.
It's like sit to see.
Just having to make a database.
It's basically the same
Like-
bucket, just did.
Go. Looks nice.
Do we have any here? I don't know. I have a feeling it's gonna be more work than I think.
Yeah, that's probably why he told us about it so bad. Like, why would he do that?
That's.
It's like a spreadsheet.
It's like since. Space. I'm on nice.
Aren't they? It's pretty big.
Smaller order.
Yeah.
Isaac was he's the man, you know, usually like.
Gosh, as far as.
Like
it's a lot of servers and you do this wrong, it sucks. No matter which way. If it really is too much. Like if you do this, maybe it's like, somehow, I can see why. Get our data centers, like, oh, is it? Like at the same time. Sounds great. This and the new show. Thinking something else. You ever watch the baking show?
Yeah, I love that show.
You see it? Bad? You know,
You don't know, you don't know.
They were based on.
Yeah, maybe do something.
All the little. Taxi free.
You know, like we can.
I think we should have 500 web servers.
Action that's on the tree.
Yeah, dude. Awesome.
Got
All right, well, hopefully you've had a chance to get through most of the questions. So I'm curious to learn about your answers. So this is like a fun managerial activity. It's different than coding. Anyway, it's practical. It's real world. So if you were a solutions architect working in the cloud, this is the type of questions you're asked. Hey, we need to, launch a website or an app, and what do we need to support that? And hopefully you can give good answers related to it. All right, so for the first one, which AWS region do you think we should put our servers in? They're going to host our application. Okay, we have I heard in Ohio. Anybody got something different than Ohio? All right, no. Why did you choose Ohio? It's closer, latency. Yeah, it's a great answer. Okay, so if we're looking at Ohio, US East 2, how many availability zones are there? Spencer's throwing up the 3 sign. Okay, so we've got 3. All right, here's a harder question. Really hard question, which is how much traffic will we get? Be curious to hear how you answered that question. Josh?
So, and we kind of started talking about maybe revising this, but our early thing was just like, let's count how many grocery stores about there, how many there are across those states. I got about 30,000, and we said, we'll say maybe we get into half of those stores and they order weekly, and so that's like 16,000 a week web requests, which seems pretty low. You don't need a lot of resources to handle that, but that's what we came up with.
Yeah. I like the way that you thought through that. I heard Spencer running some numbers too. What numbers did you guys come up with?
With your business, we assumed it was gonna be a lot lower, so probably like 5 to 20%. That's kind of a big range. 5 to 10% of stores would be initially really interested. And it also doesn't account for other stores that might be looking for your product that aren't actually placing orders. So somewhere around percent, so around 2 to 3,000. We also got similar numbers.
Okay, traffic. Okay, so traffic is going to have several variables. One is how many potential stores are there that could be ordering from us? How often are they placing requests? And then what's the payload of each transaction? So are they sending in, I don't know how they make their orders, but is it going to include credit card information? Is it really an API request? And how big would an API request be? Is it going to be like 100K or 3K? Like how many kilobytes, is each request going to be? Do we need to provide maybe a front end website as well? So maybe they don't all have the ability, to, maybe you're a small town orderer. Maybe you still need some type of website to go into and place an order and say, hey, please ship to my Joe's local convenience store where we sell stuff in the freezer case at our gas station. Maybe they need a regular website, but how big is a web page view in terms of how much comes down? And so I think the average website size for a single web page is like 4K. So like how many page views are you expecting? So it's kind of related to a lot of some of the other stuff, like how many locations are there that are ordering, but So but part of it is the payload of, okay, how many web page requests of 4K are we likely to have? There's not really like a perfect answer here, but if I were trying to answer this, I would think about some of the things that you just talked about. So how many stores do we think we're gonna have? So you're saying, hey, there's like 30,000 or so stores. Now, is that including all the convenience stores, gas stations?
No, it's not, and that's what we were talking about at the end. We're like, you know, Bucky's is huge. We should include that, but you know, we didn't.
Okay, so 30,000 grocery stores. We'll just make up some. How about convenience stores? Like gas stations, Bucky's, all those things. I don't know what the number is. I mean, it could be 50,000, could be 30,000. Let's do 20,000. All right, so let's just say that there are, yeah, so let's just say, just having fun here. We're having a conversation. So maybe we have 50,000 potential places that might sell our stuff. Okay, so in a given month, how many orders do you think we're going to get? So I'll ask a question on orders. In a given month, how many orders are we going to get?
I looked it up in every grocery store, either like big ones by week or daily, and then small ones about bi-weekly.
Okay. Okay, so weekly is potentially, just we'll go on average, big, small, put them together. Okay, so they might order weekly. Are they likely to need to replenish our product every week? So, yes, we definitely hope so. But we had some reality sprinkled on us and saying, well, just because we're Paradise Donut Company, are we going to get into all 50,000 locations year one just because we announced it? Yes. Yeah, that's a tough one. So in questions like this, any answer is potentially correct as long as you defend your assumption. If you want to say we are so popular, we have such brand recognition, we're going to get in everywhere we ask to get into, then maybe that's true. But if you're also saying, I really think we're only going to get into 5 to 10% of the addressable market, then maybe we only end up in 5,000 locations. So I don't know. So maybe oops, I did something weird. So maybe we were in 5,000 locations. I don't know. And if they're ordering weekly, are they going to need to order realistically every week? Well, we hope so, but are there items on the shelf that just seem like they sit there and I don't know. So I don't think like things cycle the same way. If you're in the grocery store, there's maybe Skittles and then there's maybe Junior Mints and like there's a bunch of different things. And so do they all sell at the same rate? I guess not really. So we don't know how popular this is. Optimistically, let's just say every single location needs to place a new order of a certain size to keep us stocked. So that's 5,000 orders a week. If that were true, we could play with some other assumptions, but let's just say, how many hours in a month? All right, so I was gonna do some math. I can't remember what the math is I was gonna do. Sorry, my brain is just not here. Okay, well since I can't think of the math that I was gonna do, that I do some years. I don't know why my brain's not here today. But if I was trying to divide up those 5,000 orders, well, actually, like this does work. Let's see. I don't know if I'm doing this math the right way. If they were ever equally distributed, then we might be getting like 7 orders per hour. Okay. If we're getting, they're not going to be equally distributed. But if we did get 7 orders per hour, that's also like less than 1 per minute. Yeah.
5,000 a week or in a month?
Oh, you're right. Yeah, my math is even worse. Yeah. So at any rate, yeah. So you're right. You got me on that. So whatever it is, we're not even getting an order. At the end of the day, we're not even getting an order per minute. Let's just say that we're getting a handful per day. And the story could get worse if we have bulk orders. Because like that, I mean, maybe we get orders from from every single individual location, but maybe a chain of grocery stores or a distributor to grocery stores that resells to grocery store chains and stuff. Maybe they have a whole bunch of ice cream items that they just ship together from one location, a warehouse. So we ended up, anyway, at the end of the day, we might only get like like one order per hour by the time you aggregate and only get into a certain, but what we're not getting is we're not getting 100 per second or per minute would be my idea. So at the end of the day, so I didn't do the math perfect, but let's just say that we might get no more than an order per hour, even at the best of times. Okay, so that's answering our questions a little bit. So if we're not getting a ton of traffic per hour, even though it sounds like a really, really big operation, then how many web servers should we have in our region to support the orders that we're going to get? I heard in the back. You guys said one initially. What do we like or not like about the idea of one server? Oh, you're going to defend them? Well, let's let them defend themselves.
Talked about if it was like a company, we probably wouldn't want to spend a lot of money on like servers, but then decided that we should help too.
Okay, Zach says we should get at least two. Why?
Oh, that we have redundancy.
So we have some redundancy. That is the perfect question or perfect answer that delights my heart. Okay. Spencer, did you have something you want to add?
I'm just gonna say you might want a database on a separate server.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you could put on a single EC2 instance both the database and your web server, or you could separate them. So you would, in that case, need at least two if that were the case. All right. So this is going to be related to this idea, but what size servers should we use? Should we use, okay, yeah, just go ahead and answer that for me. What size servers should we use? If you go to the calculator or wherever you go, be curious what the price per minute is on that or hour.
I have price per minute, but I saw that Grove ones can handle like 10 to 20 requests at a time, so
Okay.
especially if you have.
Your analysis is correct. A micro could handle the 10 to 20 simultaneous requests. Anything anybody wants to offer instead and defend it?
I might do a little bit larger just because there are hours of the day that it's not likely that you're gonna be getting orders. Like during the middle of the night, probably, distributors aren't gonna be trying to put in their orders. But you might be getting all those orders on the same day of the week. Just depending on,
Maybe there's
chain has, a procedure where it's like, hey, Friday nights, put in your orders or something.
oh yeah.
So you might want resources to be able to handle larger loads at times, but it's probably not ever gonna be huge.
Yeah, like with personal banking, there's a huge spike on Fridays when everybody's checking their balance after their paychecks have been cashed. So there's much more traffic for some banks than there is the rest of the week. So it's very spiky. And so maybe that's a good thought that maybe there's some standardization in terms of generally when people are going to place their orders.
Or like an industry standard of how much of what they have 50,000 customers. 5,000 customers. Just
I don't know if there's a standard per se, but I would just say you probably want to use like an auto scaling group, like we've talked about before, like whatever, put a cap on it. Like, so if you're getting a denial of service attack, you don't want to like spin up like 50,000 servers and have to pay for that. But, just pay for as little as you can. And if it's and just pick some metric that makes sense. If you get above 50% utilization on your instances for more than a minute, then maybe that's getting a little bit too high and it's getting close to not being able to respond in a timely manner to requests. So, maybe have the capacity to spin up to a handful of them as it CloudWatch measures and sees that the utilization is high on each one and keep on growing until a maximum number that you have set. All right. So okay. So one of the reasons why I asked this question is because as college students, we're super cheap, right? But let me just note for a second, this is a $4 billion a year company. And if you're launching a product line that you expect to make you $250 to $500 million a year, you're publicly traded. Just for appearances sake, I don't know that running some of your most important critical websites on T2 micros like sounds good, especially if things go bad. Okay, like you've got billions. So whether you're spending like $8 a month or $16 a month doesn't really matter. I'm just saying for appearance's sake, you might want to do like any of the versions .medium, for example. Like nobody's gonna bat an eye if you got something that's a little bit robust for what is considered a critical business service. So you don't have to. So we're right. We could be cheap, but like have some dignity. You know, you're a $4 billion a year company. Come on. But we do that as students. I do that too. Okay, so here's a possible solution. We end up in US East 2, and we create one VPC, and we could do 3 different availability zones, and we could put just one modest sized server in each one. And notice I didn't do 1 and I didn't do 2. Let's just do 3. Again, this is going to be a major line of business, and we want redundancy. The thing about software, especially a VM, is like not that you see it a lot compared to what we used to see, but if you're running like Microsoft Word or something like that on your computer, at any given moment, those things just crash. That's literally what will happen with your VMs. At any given time, there's nothing they can do to control that. They even blame crashes on things like solar flares and stuff like that. So at any given moment, like one of the pieces of software running on a physical computer, which is a VM, is just going to crash with or without traffic. It's just going to blow. And it's actually worse with traffic. Usually when things aren't under traffic, they perform pretty well. You get stuff getting like 1,000 requests per minute or second or whatever. And then weirdly, applications start going down all the time. So they perform very differently under load than they do under zero or very little load. So for a variety of reasons, your instances are just going to just wildly crash for no particular reason every once in a while. So having a load balancer, spread it across, yeah, you could have natural disasters, as was mentioned, but software just breaks all the time. So, and you can have hardware failure that is what the EC2 instance is running on for a variety of reasons. Things will just disappear from time to time. So always have more than one if you care about your business and rotate among them. All right, here's our next one. We'll go a little faster on this one. How big should the VPC network be? How many IP addresses should be allocated to each of the, what we determined were 3 availability zones? And are the IP addresses, okay, here's like a trick question. Are the IP addresses in a subnet or are they allocated to an availability zone? What's the relationship between the two? So answer those 3 questions. These days, you know, a couple years ago, people couldn't put that last one into AI. Now you guys can cheat. It's not fair. I like to see us struggle a bit.
I was just saying, I know that you can't.
What does it mean by
Hey, let's do it. Yeah. Same. Divide it by 3.
How many subnets are looking to all?
Yes. Oh, you're right. You can add more. Yeah. It's not a 65.
If you want to do some next slide, if you want.
The address. Or the IP address is in a subnet or.
Like planning, I feel like they're planning on expanding.
I think about that, that, but I didn't know.
Yeah, like
Similar.
But
One you could just use like.
Maybe it does, yeah, but I don't know.
we have,
I'm trying to find out right now.
but you only have one.
Doing chapter 4, but it's like it was like
Yeah, I just did that. Then from there we did just like associate. Had
Maybe.
10.6.
But we set the. But
I don't know if that's the address.
Yes, each subnet, the 16 that could happen at the same time, can receive 60 addresses.
That's what I was wondering about IP addresses. Is it like 65,000? Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm
And it's-
trying to make sure.
Yeah. So each needs its own
Like,
private
oh,
IP. Yeah.
Well, it'll be used.
And so is it?
Wait, what's the option?
Oh, they're in a subnet zone. Sorry. I literally added that, sorry. Because you can't add any. That's in the lab, okay? I think it must be the lab.
Like a flash 20.
Okay, I got it. I'm just a little bit slow sometimes.
And then like,
Sometimes I
like, wait, okay, wait.
So what are you working on?
You don't need for certain. Right.
So many doors.
Let me see if I can pull it.
Some of my some
Must have been paying better attention.
some of that.
What's the song? And I was like,
Especially like.
Okay, let's hear what you got. Team Jordan. How big should the VPC be?
As big as possible,
Okay, as big as possible.
no downside.
Okay, does anybody have a different answer? No? Okay, everybody said as big as possible. How big is as big as possible? Yeah, it's the 65,536/16 is as big as it could be. Why do we do that?
Cause you can't,
Because it's free, because you can.
oh, I said cause you can't make it any bigger after.
Oh, you can't, yeah, that's right. You can't make it any bigger afterwards. So if you had a VPC with like maybe 8 IP addresses total available in it, and you needed to spin up a couple more EC2 instances for your auto scaling group, like you're out of luck. So since it doesn't cost anything, AWS itself and their training materials will tell you, might as well just use the biggest you can go. So that's not a terrible answer. Okay, how many IP addresses do you want to put from that overall pool into each availability zone? And actually, you can answer both questions that are remaining at one time. Now, keep in mind, we right now we think that we need one IP address in each of our subnets. We just need one server. But how many out of the pool of 65,000 will we allocate to these things? Pardon?
Scared.
I love your nervousness. Be bold.
I was
Fill with glory.
If I was choosing now, I'd probably just go with how you kind of just show. Usually, just go with the 4,096.
Yeah.
Or to start.
Yeah, let's just go with 4,096. The reason, okay, so we'll come back to that. Okay, what's the last question? What's the relationship between subnets and availability zones? Okay, they're a 1-to-1. So you actually put your IP addresses, you don't, this is a lie. You don't allocate them to an availability zone, you allocate your IP addresses to a subnet. You could create, out of your overall thing, you could create dozens of subnets and put them in each availability zone. It's just an organizational principle that you could use. So if we're gonna have then I think I got it on the next page. So if we're gonna have 3 availability zones that we're using, we could just do this, which I think is the 4,000 and change in each one. And we're only putting one instance in each one currently, so that's probably fine. It's probably way overkill. We've got what we would consider this is room for growth. So we've got a healthy amount of room for growth, and then we should have IP addresses left over in case we needed to do other interesting things. Yeah.
So if subnet 1 wanted to talk to a server in subnet 2, just go to the IP address 172.6.0.
And then that would forward to the correct server. Okay, so if we have an instance that wants to talk to another one. Yes. Basically, the routing table will take care of allowing all of these to communicate, if they're using the same routing table. Yeah, it's kind of like they're pointing to a post office that says, hey, would you ship this? And one of the default ways, yeah, so.
So is
Let me think about your question for a minute. Make sure I answer that right.
the IP address outside, is that like? IP addresses are.
Okay, sorry. Is the IP address on the outside?
Like on the big.
Where's the public IP address? Or like the web, or the website itself?
I guess what is that address on that outside?
Oh, the green one, this is the green box is the symbol for the VPC. And so that means that's our overall pool of addresses. That's just communicating from me to you that we have 65,536 available in our pool. And then I'm subdividing it like this, and this probably goes 4,096 each. And if these needed to talk to one another, and I don't know that they do, but if they need to talk to one another, we create something called a routing table, and we just associate each subnet with a routing table that says, this is where you go to find the destination address.
So you have like 65,000 available in the VPC.
Uh-huh.
Only even like 12-ish thousand.
Yeah,
All these ones combined.
right.
So the other 50,000 just in case you grow more.
Exactly. It's just some available resources that you could do something with. So imagine if you had like a farmland or something, and you got a contract for some soybeans, but you only like carve out like a quarter of your field, and you start growing stuff, and then if something comes along that requires growing carrots or something, you got some spaces for that. That's kind of, you got room for growth here in your application for different, in your VPC for different things if you need it.
That'd be pretty like that much.
Yes.
at the beginning.
Yes, it's very common to only use a subset of it in case for some reason you decide to add some additional subnets later on. In fact, like one of the things that's pretty common is that in each availability zone, you might have both public and private subnets, ones that are able to reach the internet and ones that can only be talked to maybe from applications within your VPC. So some of them might have mappings to public IP addresses, and then some of them might be things like databases where you don't need a direct connection from the internet. So for reasons like that, you might have public and private subnets in each availability zone related to an application you have, redundancy. So therefore you might need like 6 subnets right out of the gate. So that'd be pretty common. So yeah, you want to have room for growth. Okay, security questions. Should our subnets that we just talked about be private or public? And what ports should they support coming in and out? Discuss that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess if they're all web servers. Oh, I see what you're saying. One was just like a database. Server, it can be. Ports would be.
You
need to.
But
It's not everyone, yeah.
I can tell you, I knew my seat. 3306 or what? I just care.
How is
6.
Yeah.
You know, it's like 666 or something. Like that.
like if it was?
Yeah, it's 5,000 something.
Would you not allow HTTPS?
Yes.
I say like the ones about like the early 5,000.
It's like on.
I mean, that's the same. Being able to.
Public, it does call out like HTTPS, and then on like the private one, security it only allows like. If you have like. 6 for my seat.
Yeah. Okay, but then you couldn't.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
Then you could like pull on all the other.
But why couldn't you just do that on a? What's the difference between, I guess, I'll just leave it. I think just like
in public.
as soon as if you're gonna put security grid on anyway,
company, because then you can.
We'll have
The address.
So a private one?
Yeah.
is the other.
That is. It's a security group? Oh, okay, okay.
I think so. I think that's. Don't wanna use this in the whole.
Directly access the internet. When the resources in that subnet.
Another space that's addressing to the department with that same security. Reach it.
I'll have a direct route to the internet.
Other subnet or whatever IP address and something with this.
Yes, some like a switch that's underneath this public, yes, private, it's just based on, yes. Database server should only communicate, with not the internet.
That's what I was wondering, if you have.
But then your web server needs to.
Subnets with the database on it and say that.
I'm saying it's like.
Separating, otherwise, if we're not separating database.
Then. Like, we probably talked about this, when it comes to private,
So you want, it's not hooked to me.
is that's why.
So nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's such a relief.
Okay, let's see what answers you have related to this.
They cut it off.
First question, should those subnets that we were showing before, should they be public or private? I heard some private. Anything else? Any other answers? Public, okay, I hear public and private. Tell me why you might go with either one.
All your.
Well, you wanted them to be public, so customers can access your. Yes, so a private subnet is one that's not available from the public internet. So there's a problem with this if you're suggesting having a private subnet, because then all of our grocery stores, nobody can reach them. The purpose of our subnets is if you have like potentially like a private, like a public one, and maybe the database is sitting in a private one. So there's no direct access from the internet directly to the private one where a database instance is hosted, but you could maybe go to a public website, and that public website can talk to the other subnet within AWS. And that, anyway, so you might have a combination of public and private subnets. Okay, so what ports should we support coming in and out for this? 80, 443, okay. In or out? Pardon?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
All right, Drew?
In for 80.
In for 80. Oh, 443. Okay, what about coming out? I'll go with you.
Choose, so like.
Okay. Okay, I don't know everything about networking, but this is something I believe to be the case. I believe that you have to be able to basically allow anything out but in on 80 and 443. Because here's like the weird stuff that happens. And anyway, I tried that. So I've tried to actually set this stuff up in AWS. I'm like, okay, 80 and 443 in and 80 and 443 out, and nothing works. It's like, why? And then you start like relearning the stuff from like IS 404, and you're like, oh, okay, technically what happens, and you'll see this in your lab. Technically what happens is when you reach out from your computer, you are telling it like what port to respond on. So even though you're reaching out on port 80, your computer says, talk to me back on an ephemeral port like 40,022. Like this is every time we have like a transaction using TCP IP stuff, right? And so it comes back and it's coming back. So anyway, so you're saying I'm talking to you, server, who only has a firewall rule incoming on 80 or 443, but you just told them and respond to me on 40,000 and something. Well, if it can only talk on 80 and 443, it's done. It's stuck in the water. So technically we need 80 and 443 potentially coming in, and then we need to let anything out. So otherwise communication breaks. Now the way that our stateful firewalls work with AWS is that it will it will function. So if you're talking about security groups, if you just say, let these ones in, also we need something in initially for administration. So you're gonna have to like build your website and put it up there in the cloud. So you need these things in. And if we're talking about the security group in isolation, it will automatically let anything out.
Why do you have to use ED? Cause isn't that?
Well, you don't need to use it anymore, but yeah, just for historical reasons, we always say that is synonymous with web traffic, but we've kind of all gone to like SSL or TLS, whatever. So secure communication, encrypted. But I just say it as the same thing. Also, like the default is when you first install your Apache web server engine X, like it doesn't talk over port 443 until you install a certificate. So you got a little extra work to do. Okay. Let us open up our AWS accounts. And if you have any questions for me, go ahead and shoot right now while you're doing that. So anything else you're curious about? Yeah.
Would you also want like a private subnet for your database and stuff?
So yeah, just a little side note. So forget that I said this. I'm pretty sure that there's like two different icons for subnets. Like there's a blue one and a green one. And I think this might be the symbol for the private ones. So this is kind of misleading. So technically we should have blue ones up here first and foremost, but not important. I just wanted to say subnet. But for our database, yeah, we haven't put our database in here. We do need to account for the database, and yeah, we won't complicate it with that today. For today, we'll just say we've got some public stuff coming in. And I don't know where the data is. We'll worry about that another day. Okay, so are you logged into your AWS accounts somewhere? I'll type in AWS console and log in. Just out of curiosity, who does have multi-factor authentication set up on their accounts? Almost everybody? Wow.
Yeah.
So some of you may have just signed up for new accounts. How do you guys all end up setting up multi-factor authentication on these? Like what
ASCII. Yeah, Apple uses ASCII, so you just use your like social link.
Okay. So like, I mean, so when you registered for your accounts, it gave you some options for. Awesome.
I think
Okay, that's what I should do.
just like.
This was just the option available like 5 years ago or whatever, or
Yes.
7 years ago. I'm still using it. Okay, let's talk for just a moment about just an intro to security. You're going to have a lot more material that you're covering in the lab that you're going to do. That's why it's pretty long. But I like to introduce things so you're not seeing it for the first time in a lab. Let's just kind of see it in class first, and then get to understand it a little bit better later on. One of the things to think about with AWS, you see some of my icons here for recently used services. There are technically hundreds of services that are available, and the access to these services within a particular account is configurable on a very, very granular level. So let's go ahead and pick out a use case here. So first off, it would have been better if I had an EC2 instance in here, but I don't, darn it. Okay, well, actually, yeah, no, I don't. Okay, so look for IAM, Identity and Access Management. One of the things that we have available in Identity and Access Management is the idea of users and policies and user groups. So one way of looking at my account is like, so for me, if I go under users, like I was doing some research over the last several years. It's been a long time since they have accessed my account. These were some RAs that I was working with, and I gave them access to my account so they could do development related to a research project that we were working on. So one of the things that I can do as an owner of any particular AWS account, which gets a unique identifier up there, the number, is I can create users, and then I can give them access, and I can limit that access within my account any way that I want. If I want to give them virtually no limitations, I can set them up with effectively administrator access. But maybe I only want them to touch certain things. So, for example, let's imagine that I had some developers that were working for PDC on my public website. I could say, you can only interact with things in a particular VPC. And then if I have developers working in another area, I could say, you can only access the stuff that's over there. So if people are on different teams and they're never going to really cross paths with the other team, like they don't have any business working. I mean, once you get to having like thousands of developers working for you, all 2,000 developers, so that's an example, like they had a couple thousand IT people working at University of Phoenix. It's just not possible that every single IT worker works on every single service and product that you're using in your organization. And also consider, if you have a disgruntled employee, if they can interact with all 2,000, with everything that's, if you have a whole bunch of services and products running, and if everybody has the same access, if some disgruntled employee gets mad at you, then they can just go through every single thing in your account and shut down your entire organization. So you want to think about what resources they should have access to in your account if you're setting up individual users. So let's just go ahead and add a user here real quick. And let's see. Should we call her Bryn?
Yes.
2 N's. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll call her Bryn Developer. She's Bryn the Developer. We got like Conan the Destroyer. Bryn the Developer. Okay. Bryn the Developer. So we're going to create a new user. You can call your user whatever you want. One of our options here is provide user access to the AWS Management Console. This thing that we're logged into, this website, is the AWS Management Console. So what happens if I don't click this? What happens if I don't click that? What does that mean?
Useless.
It's not useless, but it looks like it would be, because our universe is like oriented towards, oh, this is how we interact with our AWS account. That's not really true. Our AWS account is just an API that we hit on the back end for like spinning up EC2 instances and stuff like that. There's like a whole bunch of different pathways into hitting that API. This web page called the console is just one of the ways of hitting that API in the background. Another way of hitting the API in the background is doing it through programmatic access. So you can create basically a username and password, something as simple as that. And with that, you can just embed that into any JavaScript code, like any code, Python, anything, just run it locally on your computer. And so that's what this is implying right now with that not checked, is we might be creating a user that if we assign them like administrator access to our account, we can just put some those credentials, the username and password, into any code that we just run locally on our computer, and it can reach out to our account and do every single thing that we do in the console. Spin up EC2 instances, set up auto scaling groups, start VPCs, etc. In this case, we'll say, yes, we will let Bryn the developer log in, and I'm gonna do something that's real unsafe here for a second. No, we're running out of time. I got 3 minutes. Okay, so I won't be able to do that. If I had an extra couple minutes, what I would do is I would give her limited permissions and then log in. And then basically what you would see is every single thing like almost everything you try and do in here, you still see it, like if you go into any service, but it just gives red error messages on like every single link within the management console if you give them limited permissions. I'm going to go ahead and create this thing anyway. Oh, okay, I'll do auto-generated, and then I'll never look at it. Okay, so I just did an auto-generated password. There they go. And the next thing is, and I'll just talk about this for our last minute or two, is talk about permissions. Like, what permissions should I give this person? Well, let's just say because they're a developer, I don't want them doing everything in my account. They shouldn't be maybe messing around with like data lakes and other stuff like that that might cost a ton of money in my account. Maybe I just want them to be a developer. So I can say attach a policy to this user, and I can say EC2. And so I type in EC2 in the filter, And one of the options here is EC2 full access. So for every user that I create, I can potentially assign to them a JSON document, which gives us the scope of what they're allowed to do in our account. In this particular one, if I expand it, it says they're allowed to basically do all EC2 : *. So there's like hundreds of different things that you can do within the EC2 service. And we're saying all of those they can do, like create instance, terminate instance, hibernate instance, all those things. There's hundreds of them. We're going to allow them. And then there's this third option here that says resource. So we can actually say Bryn is only allowed to certain EC2 instances. Like, you spin it up and it gets an ID with it. So you could say, you could just put a comma separated list of EC2 instances that she's allowed to communicate with, and then she could do nothing else except for interact with the specified instances that we mentioned. So, and then to use EC2 effectively, you also need to interact with a couple other services that are named like CloudWatch, etc. So anyway, that's just an introduction. But for basic interaction with just the EC2 instances, you have to have a whole set of permissions available there. And I could say next and create user, and now she's created, et cetera, et cetera. And she can't do other things in our account. All right. The lab will give you more details that I didn't get to about other things related to security. But there's a start. Happy fantastic day. Okay, user, you're welcome to go delete your user now. Click on them. Sorry, Bryn.
I wanted full access. I was sad when you didn't give it.
Yeah, so I could have done like administrator access, and
That's what I wanted.
it would have been cool.
All right, talk to y'all later.
Fun, you guys. I'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.